Please give big round of applause for our topper. See, you can ask your individual doubt after the topper complete. Like it's if he will tell you about the journey and all strategy thing, and then you can ask doubts as well. Okay, so it is very important to know how to crack this exam. So I hope you will learn a lot from this session, and after that you can ask your doubt. Okay, so
Hello everyone. This is Saikrishna. I'm I have qualified recently again. I got 94th rank. Let's start with the questionnaire first. There's no strategy here. I used to rely on only specific notes. My optional is political science and international relations. So that used to be very helpful for me when it comes to prelims, IR part and polity part. But we'll all have different optionals, so we have to strategize accordingly. Prelims is a different game. Most of the people will not make it to the list because of the prelims, because that is where you like 5 lakh people appear, at least 5 lakh people appear for the examination, and then only 12,000 or 15,000 people will get to the main stage. So this is where most of the people will get struck. So this is the biggest pitfall for any civil servant aspirant. Anyone who is starting their preparation, they have to focus on the prelims part first, and then they can move on to the main strategy. And the interview part, it will come later on. So for the interview part, you cannot మీరు ఎక్కువ ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు. It's for the prelims and mains which will matter a lot on the preparation and all. So for the prelims part, I mostly relied on Vision IAS current affairs material. All my 6 attempts, all I have given 7 attempts, and I have qualified my for the mains. I have cleared prelim stage 6 times. So all the 6 times I relied solely on Vision IAS current affairs material. It is very helpful in this regard because see, newspaper, it will take a lot of your time once you start reading it, and many a times what happens is the same issue will continue over course of weeks and months. So you'll be reading the same issue again and again and again, and you do not have the luxury to read the same content again and again because there's so much more to cover. So this is where the Vision IAS monthly current affairs comes in. Like all the monthly, whatever happened, whatever important for the UPSC perspective, will be compiled very efficiently by these people, and you can rely on those current affairs materials very reliably. At least you won't be feeling out, okay, I have not read the newspaper, so I may be missing out on some important news and aspects. That won't be the case here. You will more or less, they will cover all the questions, and they are getting even better with the time, because earlier I used to pick the main topics from the Vision IAS current affairs material, and then they used to do the Google search. Back then the internet connectivity is also not very well. Only in 16 the internet, because of the geo, we got better internet and all. So, and they also upload all their monthly current affairs material online free of cost, so you can completely download it and you can study. So this was my current affairs strategy, and for the mains also I used to rely on their mains 365. For some reason it's not as good as it used to be, but I think they will improve upon that. So mains also you can rely on mains 365 Vision IAS current affairs material. Yeah, any doubts, anything that you guys have, you can continue, you can ask me.
So much. Firstly, congratulations for
Thank you.
qualifying.
Thank you.
Sir, the only problem is in UPSC, for me, I am 18 right now, so I'm just entered into it. I have no clue of how to study and all.
How old are you?
I'm 18 right now. I've
So-
started my prep. So I'm basically interested in the syllabi of UPSC that has that my interest towards it. So the only thing is, the syllabus of UPSC is not something like math or physics wherein you keep solving problems. Though we start studying a particular subject, it's very tough for me to keep that consistent study going on for a long time. So how did you manage it? So I just wanted to know, how do you stay consistent on so long for the same topic? Like if we cut topics and go to the other topic from geography to history and all, I haven't started my preparation, so I don't know what exactly is going to happen. But then when you skip from one topic to the other topic, either the flow misses, or else you lose interest in that particular topic and your brain doesn't
First of all, you have to enjoy the topic itself. Like, see, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So, like any marathon runner would know, it's all about conserving your energy and staying focused on the goal. So you cannot have this burst of energy where you will study for 15, 16 hours and then you will be burnt out and then you won't be able to read for the next 3, 4 weeks. So people should avoid that. You cannot prepare for more than 6, 7 hours in my opinion. This is my only personal experience. I cannot speak for others. So you cannot prepare for more than 4, 5 hours a day in long run. And but for that 4, 5 hours, you will have to focus on important topics. See, everything is important. That doesn't mean that there is difference in importance also. Major national events, major international events, major current affairs. You will all know. You will all realize that Oscars are important, but they are not too important. But at the same time, constitutional amendments are very important. You know that. So you won't be spending equal time for the equal two topics. So you'll realize that once you give the examination and you are 18, you are yet to graduate and all. So you have a long way to go. So don't stress over it. If you are attending this, it should be only for your exposure. It shouldn't be for your examination or anything. Finish your graduation first. Focus on your graduation first because this is a very uncertain exam. I'm going to tell you. I'm here not only because of my work. It's also because of an element of luck, whether we acknowledge it or not. So there's an element of luck. It's not because only because, and do not associate this examination, whether you crack this exam or not with your, with your efforts or whether you are, you have the talent or not. No. There will be many people who are very talented and very hardworking, and they may not make the list for various reasons. Sometimes luck will not favor them. Sometimes luck favors us, and then we will make the list. So we have to realize, we have to acknowledge this fact first, and you should not correlate your self-worth or the whether you are successful or not with this examination. This is another examination. This is a platform. So think on those lines. It will take away your stress on you. You will go through immense stress. I don't know why you are starting so young. But usually it will give you a lot of stress. Okay, so I say take it in a stroll. Do not take it very seriously. As in, I'm not asking you to not take the exam seriously. I'm telling you to take the stress level very less. Like study. Let's hope that we will crack the examination. That's how your approach should be. And when it comes to the topics, consistency and all, once we enjoy, see, if we enjoy something, we'll be actually be able to learn it very better. Okay, and like you have said, once I've read fundamental rights, okay, and if I have read it really well, like with interest, appreciating the fact, okay, these are all fundamental rights. These are the things which I should be knowing. Every citizen should be knowing. So once I'm able to appreciate this, uh, even if I do not do it in the first attempt, the second attempt also it won't be very different for me. I don't have to read it with so much intensity again because I'll never forget it. Once you appreciate a concept, once you're able to understand it thoroughly, you won't have to spend so much of time again on it. Okay, it's usually the current affairs which will take your time. So any advice for any first timer, anyone who is just beginning their preparation is, take your time, do not rush. Um, don't prepare for the examination. This time I'm giving the prelims, so I'm going to rush my way through it, and I'll cover all the important topics, so-called important topics I picked from other various institutions. No, you have your foundation. Okay, that foundation is where you should know all your polity. You should know what are the major international events, major international organizations. There's basics of science and technology. There's basics of environment. There is basics of everything. So that is not going to change. That is your static portion. Okay, so the static portion you have to complete thorough with a certain degree of thoroughness, that you won't have to do it again and again and again, because you never know how many times you have to give this exam. It may be your first attempt, it may be your last attempt, you never know. So if you have this foundation set, if you are thorough with your basics, every year you will just have to focus on the current affairs. So that will become easier and doable. You cannot prepare the geography part again and again as if you are preparing for the first time. So for that, you have to prepare with a degree of enthusiasm the very first attempt, because as we go along, our energy levels will not be the same.
Here the prelims only current affairs is a 90%.
There's no set pattern here. You have to recognize, okay, and you cannot say that, okay, I have prepared all the current affairs material, so I'm going to clear this exam. I'm just saying that all the major events, because we cannot spend infinite amount of time on newspaper, they're very conveniently compiled into a publication which will, like, if you do the current affairs every day, if you read the newspaper every day on your own, every topic you will have to google it, you will have to find it from authentic sources and all. It will take at least 3-4 hours a day, okay, and that will amount to a lot of time over a month. But when it comes to current affairs material compilation, all that it makes is like you can spend good 3, 6, 7 hours and you can complete the entire 1 month current affairs material. And most of the times they are very thorough with their additional informations, like for instance, you may this the current burning topic is Ukraine Russia, right? So the usual, what should your approach should be, like in the prelims there won't be any direct questions. This is that not that kind of examination, right? There is no direct question, which countries are fighting, what are the options. That is not the question. So the question will be very different. You cannot predict it. So what you should do is you should know everything about this conflict, like what, where, why, what are the reasons, what are the main reasons, what are the technologies being used. So for there, the thumb rule that I used to follow is, for any issue, major issue, I pick all the dimensions. There are only 6 to 7 dimensions which are relevant for us for UPSC. That is your historical dimension, like if this is a new conflict, or whether this conflict have any bearings from earlier times, like from World War II times or anything, like NATO, Warsaw, all these pacts, why the fall of the Soviet Union and all. And there is polity, like whether what is the protocol which is required for joining European Union. Okay, so that is the core issue. And then there's geography. There are straits in Bosphorus, there is Azov Sea, there is Crimea Peninsula. You should know all the basics of this geographical, because that's the core area of this conflict. And then there's environmental issues, if there are any. There may not, it may not be very important in this aspect, but there will be environmental concerns otherwise. And there's science and technology. What are the defense systems which are being used, the drones, the new technologies being used, the hypersonic missiles. What does it what does, you should become curious. Okay, I'm reading about hypersonic missiles, but what does hypersonic mean? There should be some criteria, right? It's not just Mark 1 or 2. So you should become curious, and you should be able to google it on your own and find out if you're curious. So once you cover all these dimensions, there won't be any direct question from the UPSC side, like what are, but you will understand from the options itself. Okay, I've read this about this, so this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer. At least it will help you in that way.
And one more thing, sir, what is the working professional actually? So there is no balance between work and study. So is it possible, first of all, working professional can clear the UPSC?
There are many examples. I've seen, like, there are many toppers who have done it. So see, it's all about priorities. Okay, you can prioritize your personal life, or you can prioritize this exam. I'm sure we will all find enough time for everything once we like it. Okay, we'll find time for movies, we'll time for music, we'll find time for friends and all. It's all about priorities. So if you think this is an important thing for you, you will find time. And then, but I'm not saying that just because you find time you will have the energy to do it. Sometimes you will not have it. But there's no other way around. If you are very particular about this examination, you can take a break from your original career, give it a shot. If it works, works. If it doesn't, then you can think whether you can go back to your job or not. Um, See, although there is current affairs material compilation is available from Vision IAS, you have to make your own notes from that very notes also. So it will be like double refinement or double doing it twice, but you have to do it. See, once you try to see, in many cases, everyone will have different cases. Some people, they will be very comfortable with science and technology part. For them, they don't need any revision. Okay, once they know the topic, they will understand it, and that's it. For some people, some major important facts, they may not be very comfortable. For instance, I'm not very comfortable with the art and culture part. So I used to just write it down somewhere, so that on the eve of the exam, I used to go through that notes again. For the IR part, I'm very comfortable. So IR part, in our international relations part, I'm comfortable. So I never used to write notes for that. I used to read from the material, and then that's it. So it varies from person to person. So revision is very important, because sometimes the options in the answers are so close that you will be very easily tricked. into picking the wrong answer. So to avoid that, you will need revision.
Uh, how you used to allocate your time between prelims and mains? Like both have different perspectives. Then I want to.
Within 1 year, then see, although they are very different, but they will overlap. See, they are the same things, same news, same issues. It's only that for prelims, you will be focusing more on the objective side, like the facts, and for the mains part, you will be focusing on the analysis part. Okay, so the dimension, but the topic will be the same thing, the same Ukraine or Russia conflict, but for here you will different facts, and there you will have to you give your own opinion, why the conflict is happening, what should be done, is there any way out of it. So this should be your answer, right? So the same topic, so there is not much of clear difference here, but 3 or 4 months before the prelims you go into prelims mode. Okay, and that mode you will focus only purely on the objective, like the objective part, only the facts, very wide dimensions but facts. And once you clear the prelims, you will know on the very day of the examination, after you check out of we cannot hold back, and you will check all the keys, and you will know whether you will make the list or not. So then you will decide, then you can decide, okay, since I'm clearing the prelims this time, I'll focus on the mains. That is where you start writing your answers. You will practice. I think 3 months should be enough if you write every day.
So what's your take on insights? You should make it as a mandatory for preparation.
What
What about insights? What's your take on insights?
NCERTs are useful, yeah. Like they are very useful because they explain things very simply and in a very efficient manner, and they are probably the standard books even the examiners depend on. Okay, so NCERT geography, have you read it? NCERT geography, there are two books, Indian geography and world physical geography. They're very useful, and they're sort of like standard books for this examination. This examination has very few standard books, so fortunately geography has that. So you should read NCERT physical geography and Indian geography, and you also have sociology part of the NCERTs. I believe it gives a very good insight on like how Indian society is, what are the major issues, the perspective. Okay, so you can read on the you can read that. You should read that. For all rest of it, you can rely on the current affairs material which is available in the market from various institutions. Even Vision IAS, I believe, has a lot of content online, free of cost, right? On the website, official website. You can download it from here. They have made compilations on science and tech, environment, and all these things. Yeah, I made my own personal notes. Because for the static part, I made my own personal notes, and for the current affairs side, like I said, I'm comfortable with few topics like IR, science and tech, environment. I did not have to make my notes very much like Mali Mali Rayals or something. But for the other parts, for the art and culture, for polity, uh, for economy part, I used to make notes because they need revision for from my point of view, for me personally.
How to schedule your revisions apart from issues like
Huh?
how to schedule your revision?
There's no scheduling here. You go, you if you find energy, you read. That's all. There's no say like it's not like I have to read this, I have to revise this 3 times and then I'll be able to answer it, or if I have to revise this 4 times and then I'll be able to answer it. There's nothing like that. You revise as many times as possible if that time allows. Usually that's not the case because there's so much of content here, there's so much of current affairs that's happening, so you won't find time for more than 2 or 3 revisions. I did not initially. That's why it took me 6 attempts. But you should not do that. You should really focus on the answer writing. Write the examinations. It's all about. See, this is not about whether they evaluate and give you some score. You will also get a feel of your own answer, whether you are improving your answer writing skills or not. Okay, So for that, you should do your own writing. You need not always rely on some test series or anything. You can pick any answer and you question and you can write. And this is also about time management, right? So 7.5 minutes, 7 minutes or whatever. So for that, whether you can see, it may sound doable at this point, but once you start actually writing, no, you'll realize how tough it is to write 2 or 3 pages worth of like lengthy answers in 7 minutes of time. Okay, 7 minutes is not very long actually once you start writing the answer. So you practice and practice. You'll develop some sort of muscle memory actually. You'll get comfortable. This happens by the end of the examination. Once you are actually giving the mains, by the end of the exam you are very good, but the exam is done. You'll realize it later. So do that in the beginning stage, so that you will have that enough time management opportunity, and that will help. You have to practice. Don't do the same mistake that I have done. Yeah.
Sir, is that really important to read NCERT books? Or it would be covered in syllabus?
Like I said, I suggest you personally. Um, there are NCERT textbooks for geography. You read them. They are mandatory. They are compulsory. I am going to tell you, they are compulsory. And for other subjects, I have not read them. I have relied on. So, for example, for polity part, I relied on Laxmikanth. Okay, and then there is Bare Act also for polity, Indian Constitution Bare Act. So I read it, and for economy I relied on Vision IS current affairs material. And I you have to be curious. Like I said, you do not know what GDP is. You come across the word GDP. Uh, don't stop there. You go and search what GDP is. There's so much. Things have changed from 2014. That's what I'm happy for the aspirants part, because in 2014 the internet penetration was not very well. Okay, and there was a 3G era. Okay, so back then, even if you have laptop or phone, there's no good internet. The speeds were so slow, so we have to rely on all the offline materials. And now after Geo 2016, after 2016, you have this good internet connectivity, good penetration of internet. You can read that same material online now. You don't have to go to any place physically. You don't have to travel to Delhi or anywhere. You can be at your home. You can enroll on online courses if need be, and then prepare. So, and many even Vision IAS offers online courses and all. Do it online. Once you see some topic. Now we all read about inflation, right? So, but we should be curious about what inflation is, what types of inflations are there, who decides what inflation is, how monetary policy committee of RBI works. So once you go down that path, you will have so many doubts. So be curious about the topic. That way you will come across so many topics, and you never know where your knowledge will come into play. Many a times it may come into play in the mains, it may come into play in the interview. You may suddenly realize, "Arey, I have read about this. This is not in current affairs news, but this I have read about it in my previous attempt." So that also happens. So be curious, and once you're curious, you will also be able to enjoy the process. So that's more important. So read about all these topics. There's no standard books here. We all hear about crude oil. You find out what are the standards, what is Brent, what is Oman crude standard, what is other standards. We all hear about all these terms, but we leave at that. We leave it at that. No, we should be able to answer it if the question arises, like what is the standard, who are the main producers, whether we produce anything or not. So we should be curious about all these things. So curiosity in this examination is very important.
Sir, during the mock interviews I observed on YouTube and stuff like that, I think there will be a problem while we have something in our brain to answer and that doesn't actually come out. So, is there any practice wherein that makes things possible to say?
uh,
As in, we think something and we won't be ready to jot down the points immediately in our brain and tell it out immediately. So, any practice which, or else is it just the muscle memory which gets built after giving so many attempts
are you speaking about mains or interview?
about the interview?
See, interview is different. It's not actually an interview, it's a personality test. And all that you're doing over there is an interaction. It's not a question and answer session. Okay. So, and all the mocks that you see online on YouTube, they are not the real interviews. Okay. Half the time they will have flashy headlines and all. So they're mostly clickbaits. So don't go by that. And your mocks are very different from your actual interview. Okay, in your actual interview it's a very different experience altogether. It's a very pleasant environment. You will have this opportunity to interact with five learned people. They're very knowledgeable, they have a lot of experience amongst themselves. You interact with them, you do not make it into a question and answer session. Okay, once you make it into a question and answer session, you will be nervous, it shows. So rather talk to them. It's an interaction session. If you know something, you can tell them. Even if you do not know something, you can say I do not know, and they won't take it otherwise. They are very well aware of that the fact that one person cannot know possibly all the things in the world. So come out of this understanding that no, we should know everything, we should have this practice. Mocks is to the what mocks serve a purpose. I'm not saying that mocks are not useful or you should not give the mocks do serve a purpose, and that purpose is to familiarize with that environment. uh, like many of us after graduation or even like otherwise also, you will come out and you will never experience this, this five people sitting across you and then they are going to ask you something. So to familiarize you with that room, that environment, so that you won't get stuck. You may be very good, but sometimes we become so nervous that will get stuck. So to prevent that, mocks are important, and do not go by what content is available on YouTube. So that's a very different experience from the actual interviews. So stop consuming a lot of social media, focus on your own preparation. And uh, and as per you personally, it's a long way for you. Do not worry about all those things right now. So you will cross that bridge when you get there. Okay, that's the approach. Focus on your prelims first, and then the mains, and then the interview. Do not think about the interview when you haven't even appeared for the prelims yet.
Can you share your interview experiences which you had with them?
I have been only to two interviews, and twice I got the rank. And both the times I got good score. First time I got 190, and recently the latest one I got 187. First time Manoj Soni server board was there for me. They it revolves most of the times. The interviews revolve around DAF and your experience if you have any. For instance, the first time around it was mostly about DAF and my optional international relations. And but this time when I went to the interview again, because I'm already in service, Indian corporate law service, and I've been here for 4 years. So they expect there were questions about Companies Act, the recent amendments, or what has happened in the companies regulation and all. So that was expected on the expected lines. Many a times, it's not relevant at this point because many of you will be just giving your prelims or mains, so it will come up at a later time. But DAF is where we disclose what we are. Detailed application form, most of you will fill the application form once you write the mains. Detailed application form is where you fill your you voluntarily tell them, so this is me, this is what I am, these are my hobbies, this is what I am interested in, this is my academic achievements, these are my hobbies, these are my sports achievements. So once you tell them these things, they expect you to know all those things very well, because nobody is asking you to write something which you are not, actually not. So you should be very honest in DAF also. Do not write too many hobbies unless you are actually follow like really they are really your hobbies. You do not try to unnecessarily give hobbies, so many hobbies that you will not be able to answer them when they actually ask you about it. So that is my experience has been. I only wrote what I am, and I only wrote what all hobbies I have. And and they won't ask you. Sometimes they will sometimes they will ask, and most of the times they won't ask you the cliche questions, wherein why do you want to become this, or what do you want to do after this. They will focus on various current affairs awareness, whether you are aware of the what is happening around the world, uh, what kind of a personality do you have. They may sometimes ask you some questions in the way they will describe a scenario and ask how do you react to this. So these are the kind of questions, and both times, in the recent one, they asked me about my district, Karimnagar. I'm from Karimnagar, and they asked me about Telangana development. They also asked me about the Companies Act because I'm from Indian Corporate Law Service, and they asked me about Ukraine-Russia conflict because of my optional. Yeah, this is it.
ఎంత ఫ్యాక్చువల్ చేయడం మన ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ చదవాలి అంటే దాని మ్యాక్సిమం ఇంటర్వ్యూ లిమిట్ అని మ్యాక్సిమం
How can you come up with an objective number here? This exam does not have any number. You prepare 100 questions and that will be it, or you minimum have to prepare this. You prepare all the things. There's no way to tell anyone that you have to prepare 100 questions and this will be enough, or you have to prepare minimum 100 questions or minimum 100 facts. There's nothing like that. You prepare all that is relevant for you for the examination. That's all, and you will know the relevance. Have you given any exam until now? Have you seen the previous year question papers? So you will find some pattern there, right? You will find that these are the questions, these are the kind of questions. You should know your fundamental rights. You should know your DPSP. You should know how constitutional amendments are made. You should know what are major UN organizations are there. So these are all facts, but you should know them. There's no quantitative limit to this. You should know these things.
Sir, what are the transformations that took place in your personality during this whole UPSC journey? Like, what are you then? What were you then and what are you now?
I became more patient.
Patient or patient?
Both. And it's also that you will have this realization that there's so much of uncertainty, so take it in the stride. You cannot have everything under your control. There are so many variables at play and you cannot control all of them, so realize that. And with that you will find that okay, like there's no need for taking too much stress. You will undergo it though. On the eve of the exam you will experience the stress, but in the long span, then 1.5 year of your actual, from the notification date to the interview result or the actual final result, final list, there will be small windows of this stress. In the very beginning when I started preparation, I used to have this entire period of stress. That's the whole 1 year I used to undergo this period of stress. But now I realize that like you can only do so much. You cannot have everything under your control. There's so many variables. So on the day of the examination, you will go through the stress. You will be tensed and all. But once you are done, you're done. You will stop anticipation.
But what is the motive, sir? 7 attempts is a very big challenge actually. What is the best motive for you?
See, I wanted to join IAS, so that was the motive. So I always looked at it as a platform where I can do something. So this is a very unique opportunity. This is very personal to me. I am not saying that this is a understanding of everyone. Uh, we are all part of this country, right? So only as long as our country is like thriving, we will also thrive. We are part of this whole. And once you realize that, you will realize how important it is that our country thrives. For that, you can have this thought, and then you can also be helpless. You cannot do anything about it. So this is a where you can have your career also, but also that career itself is about worrying this, like contributing for this country's progress. Everyone contributes, every taxpayer, every person, every citizen contributes, but here you can do it more directly. You may have an idea, but it will always remain an idea. Here, this is a platform where you can actually see if you can translate that idea into reality. So that is a motivation. I've seen many senior bureaucrats, many able officers who came up with so many things. We are all products of that. We may not realize it. They are all behind the scenes. Okay. So all those things you will realize once you start the preparation. You will have more and more respect for those people. They are the unsung heroes in a way. So that will act as a motivation in its own way. Uh, and I got in my third attempt. So for me, after that, it's a different journey. I may not have been the same person had I not got my rank in third attempt. So third attempt, after third attempt, I had a different motivation. Like as in the since I'm in service, I knew okay I have to improve upon this. Uh, Before also I used to know all these things. Like once you realize that this is a career where you will have this unique opportunity to contribute to the country's progress in a very direct manner, and also have your own career. So that was a motivation for me.
Please suggest healthy daily routine.
It varies from way individual to individual. There is nothing healthy or unhealthy. How many hours can you prepare?
Like 10 hours. 10 hours.
Then do it.
Like a lot of people say it's not right to get lot of hours.
There's nothing right or wrong. You will know. Your body will tell you if you're doing it wrong, right? If you study for longer hours, you will have a headache, or your eyes may be strained or something. So you'll know it yourself. If you're capable of doing it for 15 hours, by all means, please do it. If you're able to do it for 4 hours, do it. It's all about focus, quality over quantity. It's not about number of hours you are sitting there in one place, and you may be sitting at one place consistently for 10 hours, but you are actually reading for 3 hours. So that's a different story. So you will know there's nothing, there's no, it varies from individual to individual. There is no one size fits all for this examination. Everyone will have their own strategy. Everyone will have to learn through trial and error. Sometimes if you're fortunate, you won't even know whether you have heard or not, because in your first attempt you'll get through.
For the environment and science and technology, which books you recommend?
Shankar IAS. There's a environment book. It's a good compilation. So, but that is also for basics. After that, again, I relied on Vision IAS, and this is entire segment on environment, right? So all the major national parks in news, or the new species, or the IUCN red list, endangered list. So you have all these things. So it's a combination of your static and your current affairs. So the static part you can more or less get from the Shankar IAS, and the current affairs part you get from your Vision IAS.
What was your daily routine in your during your
There's no daily routine. It varies. If you have time and energy, you study. If you don't have, you won't do it. Um, I stopped having this student life in 2018, so I have a different setup. Challenges, opportunities. You will have a different set of challenges and opportunities. You will utilize your opportunities to face those challenges. So sometimes, like I read at night time. I'm a night owl. So it may not be the same case for others. Some people are very focused in the mornings. So you focus in the morning. I read it at night time. So it varies. I am not going to tell you this is the right way. There is when it comes to how to study or where how many hours to study. Everyone will have to find their own group.
So what made you take BSA as
I opted for this optional because IR, the international relations part, I used to be very curious about it since my childhood. So I thought, okay, this is where I'm comfortable. This is, and the polity part because it overlaps with the GS2, right? So I don't have to prepare separately for GS2 and IR part. So I thought, okay, this is overlapping with so many things. There will be reduction. I don't have to prepare. Don't have to double my efforts, and also I enjoy reading about international relations. So it won't be a hard task for me to start into a completely new subject. So for that is the reason. But for others, I will tell you, go through the syllabus, the entire syllabus, and see which topics are comfortable for you. Find whether they are interesting for you or not, and then also check whether they are scoring or not. Sometimes we pick optionals where we'll realize that this is where I'm going to get stuck. For more major part, for most of the time, it was the same case for me. Although I really like reading about international relations, I used to get only 215 PSR. So that is not good enough for me to get to the top rank. So it did not work. Like I could have, like had it been other optional, it would have been other case also. I do not know. So go with a mix, this balance these two factors, whether you are actually interested in the subject and whether the subject has good coaching material, all the study material available for you, and whether the scoring pattern is in your favor.
Sir, what did you do for ethics and
Ethics part, I mostly relied on the general understanding of what topics are like what emotional intelligence is and all these things. And essay part, I when you have a lot of information with you, essay is your gameplay. Essay is where you can actually score a lot. When you have a lot of information, a lot of dimensions in your mind. So that was the case for me, and for that I used to practice. I never practice actually much for that essay part, because after my first essay experience, first mains, I realized that okay, this is where I'm comfortable. Without much practice, I got 133 in that first attempt. So I realized okay, this is good. I they have a saying, no, that don't fix what is not broken. So it was not broken for me, so I did not fix it. I stick with that strategy.
Hello, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I have two questions. First is like opinions is changing, is what we are getting to know by what the videos which are provided. So please comment on that. Like, is it really changing, or should we just stick to what we have been doing so far?
How many attempts have you given?
So 24 will be my first attempt, but I have been following.
Yeah. See, that's the trick of this examination. Like, unless you have actually given the examination in the actual environment, you will have a only very different view. You are not sitting there. Even if you go through the entire prelims question paper, even in under 2 hours, it's a very different experience. Once you actually sit in the examination hall, and once you are doing it actually, you'll have a different experience. Okay, so do not go by this YouTube analysis of how this prelims is changing or anything. Everyone will have their own experience. It varies from person to person. Don't take other people's experience as the thumb rule. Okay, that's not the standard. You read the entire paper yourself, see how it has changed, and when has it ever been static? When has it ever not changed? So if it is changing all the time, why is it surprising for us? It always changes. In 2015 prelims is very different from 2022 prelims. 2015 is different, 2022 is different. It will change. You cannot change the fact that it will change. It's the reality. We have to adapt to the reality. So do not worry about what changes you're doing. Whatever strategy you think it's working, see whether it's an opportunity for you. You might have studied something, right? You might have already prepared some part of it. Sit quietly and pick the 2024 examination paper. So 2023 prelims paper. Sit down and write this examination as if you are actually writing the examination. See how many questions you are able to solve it, and you will see okay, this answer I thought this is the answer, but apparently this is not the right answer. So where could I have fixed it? Like what dimension have I missed? You do your own self analysis and then you fix those things.
And so my second question is, this whole process has a very huge opportunity cost. Though we have some motive, a very pure motive to get into services, it will cost you. Maybe if it happens in 1-2 attempts, if it takes a bit long, it will have some like very huge opportunity cost, which you may or may not be able to cover it later on. So this induces lots of anxiety in me. Like, what if I like stay very behind my people? So how did you tackle it? And giving other exams, will that really help? Like, there are many other opportunities in UK services that.
Say I did not give any other examination. I gave only this examination. Um, about the opportunity cost, there will be opportunity cost in everything that we do, right? There's always the path not taken. There's always be the place where you will not be. So you cannot be an engineer, you cannot be a doctor, you cannot be all the things at a time, even if you are very much interested in all of those things. So the fact that you are choosing this career means this opportunity cost is inevitable. Like just like if you choose to be an engineer, you cannot be a doctor. If you choose to be a civil servant, you will miss out on other opportunities. So this is the reality. We have to adapt to that. And as per whether you are comparing with your peers, so they have chosen a different career. How can you compare apples and oranges?
Not as in, like, let's say if I get it with well good. What if I don't get it? I will have, okay, if I'm an engineer, I'm working right now, and I'm not really happy with what I'm doing. And I see myself either into civil services or maybe maybe I will do a MBS. So when I'm pursuing services, like let's say I'm pursuing this exam, I am behind the crowd. Like I will be aging. Even if I join MBA, I will be the oldest in the crowd.
So
That
what?
factors are there.
So what? Why are you comparing yourself with others? Why do you have to compare yourselves to others? That's the question. So no two people will have same life. Even if you are staying with them, you will have a very different life. Someone will join A company, you will join B company. You may get more salary at that point, and then the person who has joined A company will exceed your salary at different point. See, this is will you will realize you cannot compare two things. You stop comparing yourself with others. Your life is completely different. You have a very unique life. Your parents, you are a very different person from others. So, and you already have stated your plan B. You have already thought. You have already have that. You already have that. So that should be able to answer your own anxiety, since you are already working and you know what you will do once you do not get through. So that is why you opted for this examination preparation, so do not self-induced anxiety is one thing in this examination. Okay, more than the examination we induce our own anxiety. So try to avoid that. It's very hard to avoid, I admit, but try to avoid it. Do not compare yourself with others. uh, they have chosen a different path, career path. You cannot compare yourself with others. You compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges. Not both others.
So how has been your experience in the service for last 4 years? The law.
Indian Corporate Law Service. It was good. It's a civil service, and like all the civil services, and there will be challenges and opportunities, and you can do your part. You can, and that's it. It will be all the same. Like there's no difference. There's not much of difference. It's all about your intention. Like some people, I've seen many. Like I have a friend, Abhay Sinha Deshmukh. He is 2019 IPS, and uh, and there's Sachin Yadav, another IPS officer, 2021 IPS. So both these people, they started journey with their intention with that they want to be an IPS officers, right? So for them, it's all about getting to that point. They were in other services and then they got into ICLS and then they moved on to IPS. So like where do you want to end is the point. Until you reach there, you will have this drive to get there. So some people will start their journey with IPS. Some people will be very happy that they will be civil services in some service. Any service is good service as long as it matches your mental energies or requirements, or whether you are good at it. So as long as you are good at something, you will be happy. So find that thing and go towards that.
So these people feel the schools are reducing lately. So how was your experience in that particular paper and what were your preparation plans?
Every mains is different. Okay, there is no increase or decrease in the scores of GS3. This year relatively everyone got lesser score. I got 99 only. I thought that was very bad, and then I realized that people were getting 87, 75 also. Then I realized, okay, this is how they have awarded marks for this exam, this paper in this attempt, this mains. So that will be a different thing for next year. So there's no increase or decrease in the score. And stop comparing two different mains. This year mains is only like you are it's only confined to this year's aspirants. You will not have similar questions, same questions or same marks, same candidates next year, right? So you will not have same answers written, same evaluation, same marks. So this examination is one cycle at a time. You cannot compare this year mains with next year mains, because I did not get through.
How do you feel these mistakes that you have made?
Like I said, I have not prepared. I never used to write test series, this answer writing practice. So that costed me, and this time I did.
Sir,
It's the other way around. You start with the standard material first, and then you read the Vision Ayer's current affairs material.
Not related to current affairs, static portion.
In the static portion also, you read the standard books first. Okay, that will set the foundation for you, and then you move on to the current affairs or any other ancillary material.
When reading polity, each and every line is important. What's your strategy?
Each and every line is important because you have to understand it. Once you understand it, not every line is important. The lines are there, the words are there for you, they are explaining things for you, because most of us are not from social sciences background. They explain it very well in descriptive language instead of the Bare Act itself. In the Bare Act they have a different language. In the Laxmikanth, he uses a different languages. He uses a more descriptive language to describe things. So that doesn't mean that you underline everything. If you underline everything, there's nothing important. Everything is important then. So underline only things which you think are so important that you have to remember them very well, and or things which you do not understand very well. Read the Bare Act. Many people miss out on this part because Lakshmikant, the book, it describes everything, but sometimes the actual arrangement of words, actual phrases that are being used in the Bare Act may be a bit different. So once you read the Bare Act provisions, like article this and article that, you will have a newfound appreciation for the ingenuity of our constitution makers. So you'll remember it better. Is that it?
Sir, finally, any comment on this case?
I cannot.
UPSC is entirely changing its options pattern.
I cannot.
Offering was totally passive.
I cannot, simply because I have not seen the CS paper. I really haven't seen it. I have had too many prelims myself, so I want to stay away from the prelims for a while.
Last year you attended prelims paper. In that you had 6 to 7 questions which there is no scope for option elimination.
Why do you want to eliminate?
Because this year, for example, I have a question having 4 statements. I am sure about 3, but the remaining 1 statement is somehow I am unable to tackle. So that is where I lost.
See, see, earlier there used to be a time when people used to rely on this so-called elimination techniques, right? And everyone got to know that, see, it's not a requirement for that UPSC gives these kind of exam questions, right? Are you demanding that UPSC should give the questions where we can eliminate the options and we come up with the answer?
You raised a point called luck. So I think that is where luck factor plays. But this time onwards, I think UPSC will give future papers will also in that pattern. So I think that the luck factor got drastic.
Can you do something about it?
But I'm just saying.
Right? So prepare. So this is, see, someone actually one of my senior actually told me, you are playing a game, okay, and there are certain rules in the game. You do not cry foul that every time you say, no, these rules are very much not in my favor of my skill. You play with the game, you play according to the rules, you make an extra effort, you try to see if the elimination method is removed, then focus more on what is working. Okay, if it needs that more factual things you have to learn, try to learn it. Or if the need of the examination is that you will have to analyze things better, try developing that skill. You can only do what you can do, right? You cannot, these are all variables which you cannot control. Someone has actually asked me what I have learned in this thing. There will be many variables where we have to humbly accept that this is a variable which is not under my control. Once you realize that, half of your stress will go away. Focus on that fact that you cannot control this variable. So focus on the variable that you can control. Which variable can you control? Number of hours, or the kind of focus you are, like the kind of topics you are picking for your preparation, or the kind of books you are reading, something which is actually you under your control. You do that. What else can you do?
So one more thing is in mains answer writing, you will able to answer 150 words for each question, sir, or you tested in 80 words, 100 words.
We never count. We never have this luxury of counting the number of words we have. Okay, you will write. You will write as much as possible. This paucity of time. It's not that you don't have the ideas or you do not have answers for the question. Most of us will have. It's more about whether we are able to put those words into those ideas into words at a given pace in the given time. Okay. Mm,
Had you managed 20 questions in all the papers?
no, I haven't. Like I said, I did not practice back then. Like in until this attempt, I was very poor at practicing the mains part. So that requires, like I said, that was a fault of mine. In 2018, the first time I got selected, I realized that okay, I could have done this better. And by the time next if attempts came, for other reasons I could not practice. Okay, so I lost upon those opportunities, and this time I tried to do that as much as possible, and it helped. So you should also do that. You should write those answers. You should practice, and practicing is a daily thing, I guess. Like you should do it on a daily basis so that you will have this muscle memory. You will remember how fast you can write, how clearly and concisely you can put your ideas into words. Okay, so it's not about number of words. Have you written any mains? Yeah, so go today and pick one question, any comfortable question. Set a timer and see how many lines, or how many ideas you can gather and put it on paper in those 7 or 8 minutes. You realize it, where we stand. It's a very hard task. It sounds doable, but it takes practice. Now imagine that doing it 20 times in 3 hours. So that's where the actual trick lies.
Essay paper, where you get that knowledge directly approaching the questions for essay paper, whether you get it from Western novels or from any philosophers. Actually, if essay paper consists of words, mostly words. Words means we have to rely upon something like knowledge or philosophies or psychology. So how will you approach?
Essay is where you have to present all the possible dimensions about a topic. This is what my understanding is. That is the only paper you will have enough time to sit down, gather your thoughts, and organize them properly and write them comfortably. This is the only paper. Okay, so this is where you present all possible ideas. Don't take the narrowest possible interpretation of a question. Okay, read between the lines, see what they are actually trying to convey in that quote, and accordingly you bring all your ideas into play. Write them down on the paper itself. Okay, keywords of the ideas. Now organize them into some chronological order, some spatial, geographical, and other chronological order, and then you give it a flow. This is what essay is for me. And as per the knowledge, this preparation itself will give you a lot of knowledge. What else do you need? You read so much of material, you read so much of current affairs, you will come across so many thinkers and other people in your own optionals. What is your optional?
Geography.
So in geography also you will have some thinkers, something, right? So always leverage your own optional. Okay. Whenever there was some international relations related question in the essay paper, I used to pick it. There are so many misconceptions, like people tell pick an essay topic which is least picked, so you will stand out. Or someone will say pick a topic which is like not your optional, because your optional knowledge will come and they will realize that this person is too like it's very too much for them. No, don't go by all these things. See which topic you are very comfortable with, where you have most of your ideas, like which topic, where pick a topic in which you will have the best possible ideas to present. That's the only criteria you should go with. Do not, if even if everyone is writing that very simple essay, you pick that only. Do not go with this understanding that I have to pick one philosophical essay, and another one very different technological essay. Don't, there are no rules here. Pick what is best for you. Pick where you are pick a topic which is where you will have the most ideas or better ideas to present. That is the only thing. Don't go by any other. Don't try to trick people.
This question regarding you said that you can't cross to the PGP in your 6 attempts, and then were you able to cross that?
Yeah, I did cross that barrier. I got 285 in my PSIR.
It is quite hard to. It is easy to reach from 0 to 70, but it might be hard to reach from beyond 70. And
Yeah.
reach that one. So, what were the value additions, or what was your approach?
I practiced again. I always had this problem of not practicing for my mains, and this time I practiced. And this time I also managed my time well in my optional, so it showed in my score. I used to leave 2 or 3 questions earlier. And 2 or 3 questions may sound very less to a person who has not given mains or who is not preparing for civil services, but 2 or 3 questions will mains 10 marks in each paper, and that will sum up to a lot.
And even the same in the GS papers that were right?
Yeah. Earlier also I used to leave questions in my GS papers. I never used to really practice manage my time well in my mains. This time I tried to manage it well. Not well, better at least.
What after listening to you, what I think is like keeping it simple is the key. But why is it so hard? Like,
Because
personally facing that a lot, keeping it simple, normal. It's just like maybe 10th or 12th boarding. It is, like the level has increased. Why is it so hard to keep it simple? Why?
because we are very good at making things complicated. We have this tendency of making things complicated, no, in our life and in any every possible thing. So sometimes, and maybe that's the reason. And also many a times, see, there are too many coaching institutions, and everyone wants to provide a new perspective, and there is a feeling called feeling of missing out, if you are aware of it. So unless you crack this examination, you will always feel maybe I'm doing this wrong, maybe I should be reading that. One question has come from this one particular book, so I have to read it. What if next time they are going to ask the same similar question from that same book? I'll miss out on that. So there's so much of content outside available in the market. So you'll try to read, even as humans, but we have only 24 hours. We'll have only enough, so much of energy. So in that panic, we'll try to read too many things, too much. Um, at the end, we will not be able to focus on anything. So in this panic, there will be this fog of uncertainty. Nobody knows what the right path is. So to avoid that, you pick few topics, few standard materials. You stick to that.
How did you manage your mental health as well? Were you able to?
You will have friends. This is where the friends come in. You will have your friends. We went to them. You tell them. And they are the people who will actually understand you, even if they have not given the examination themselves. You talk to them, or you will have. Sometimes there will be good mentors also available in the training or coaching institutions. Not necessarily, but if they are available, use those services also. Some many and most of you people will be staying in this setup where you will share the room with your fellow aspirant and all, right. So you will be if you are in Ashok Nagar, you will be sharing rooms with your fellow aspirants. So you will went to him, he will went to you, and you will both be motivating each other. You will have friends. Use them properly. Um, Focus on the basics. Start with the standard books. The standard books are, I'm going to reiterate n number of times. Already I'm sure many of the toppers earlier have mentioned it. It's not different, very much different. But for let's start with the history part. History, we have Bipin Chandra. Okay, that's a mandatory, and the spectrum, the notes. And ancient and medieval, I relied only on the NCERT textbooks. And when it comes to geography, there is NCERT textbooks. And for polity, there's Laxmikanth and there's Bare. And for the international relations, there is no standard book. I am yet to come across a book which is good and very objective. So I will not suggest any other book for you guys. Do your own notes. And international relations is actually interesting if you get a understanding of it. And for the economy part also, there is no good book. There are so many books which will throw you off, which are very bad to even begin with. Don't start them. There are so many numbers. There are so many unnecessary facts being thrown at you in that book. So I do not know whether you guys know that book or not. Avoid those books. Make your own notes in the economy part. If need be, if there is a need, read the NCERT textbooks. 11th and 12th basics of what GDP is, what GNI is, what national income is, what in those kind of things. After that, you read from current affairs. And for the environment part, there is Shankar IAS. There's a book. I do not. So I'm sure you guys might have known about it. And for the science and tech, there is no book. Okay. So read from NCERT's basics, like what spectrum is, or what biotech is, or what cell is, cell biology, basics of health, basics of vaccines, all these things, basics. So read from that, space related news and all those things. And for the social part, social issues part, read the NCERT textbooks, 11th and 12th probably, and the rest of it comes from your current affairs material. Vision IS is good at it. Vision IS monthly current affairs material is very good. And like I said, I have only in 2022 I felt that the Vision IS mains current affairs material could have been better. They used to be very good back in 15, 16, 17, 18. So you can rely on Vision IS for mains also. Yeah, these are the basic things. You focus on these basics for the beginner, for any beginner. Focus on this and try to build your foundation like all the basics very well in the very first attempt. So because you never know, and you should not come back to your basics again and again every time you give. From the first attempt, after your first attempt, it should only be about your current affairs. You should not rebuild the house again and again and again. How many of you have given 2023 prelims this time? Okay, all the best for you guys, and for the rest of you also.